Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is New World Coming, and I've got some information I think is going to surprise you. At least it surprised me, and so it's probably going to surprise you too. Okay, first of all, before we get going, yes, please remember Prophecy Club. As you know, I haven't been talking about how we need donations much for several weeks, but we still need them. And so if God has laid on your heart, and if He's blessed you, we could certainly use your help right now. Also, if you want to survive in the trouble ahead, it'd be a very good idea for you to call 800-200-GOLD, especially if you have an IRA or a 401k, so that you won't lose your money when everybody else does. So let's get started. First of all, and I've already been talking about this, but I've got some additional information before we get into the big topic. Big topic is last. Okay, massive arrest. I don't think it's an accident. So CIA Chief John Brennan lied. Oh, surely not. Yeah. Well, some 50 other intelligence community leaders who openly lied in the American public that Hunter Biden's computer contents were actually Russian information, disinformation. It was a lie. Okay, we didn't fool us. We figured they were lying. John Brennan made numerous statements under oath to the American public that were found to be completely false. Now, what's going on? I don't think it's just John Brennan. Here's another one. Chris Wray lied under oath. 274 plainclothes agents were in the crowd on January 6th. In other words, they were trying to stir up trouble. They were there to see that trouble did get stirred up. Says the FBI finally acknowledged that 274 plainclothes agents were indeed present in the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. And there's more. Also running operatives inside the Oath Keepers on January 6th, FBI also finally admitted they had 8 informants inside the Proud Boys organization, and 40 government CHS agents were undercover on January 6th, meaning they were trying to overthrow the government. Now let's jump to the new financial system. See, this is all part of the things I think are about to happen. Massive arrests, new financial system, and then I've got the shocker. How a government shutdown could affect your life. I think that the Democrats are playing right into the hands of the white hats, i.e. Trump. So it goes on to say that there's another shutdown coming. Well, la-di-da. Seems like there's always a shutdown coming because the Democrats are trying to shut down our nation, trying to kill the last Christian nation. Anyway, it says President Donald Trump is instructing agencies to prepare plans for permanent layoffs and programs. In other words, Dems, you shut down the government this time, and yeah, we're going to lay off people, but it's going to be permanent layoffs. In other words, this is going to sting you bad. We're going to let everybody know that it's you doing it. Mass firing planned underscores the unusual leverage a shutdown would give Trump. A deadline has left Democrats in a bind, fearing that their outcome could ultimately strengthen Trump's grip. In other words, show everybody just how bad these guys are. So the Office of Management and Budget has ordered agencies to draw up reduction in force plans. In other words, mass firings, mass permanent layoffs. Now, how's that fit with Scripture? I got to read this because this is going to tie into some important stuff. And He causeth all, I know you've never heard this before, He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their forehead. Here's the point, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Meaning, anything that is stopping you from making a purchase or a sale is probably the mark or leading to it. Now watch. Starmer, this is the British leader, okay, says no one will be able to work in the UK without a new digital ID. Boom. Mark of the beast. Oh, it's not the mark of the beast yet. First we have to get the system all set up. We have to get everybody on it. Then we turn it into the mark. So this digital ID held on people's phones. I told you. The phone, your cell phone is not your friend. I've also told you, remember the little 11-year-old kid had a dream that there was a device that came in about the size, looked like a cell phone, but it wasn't a cell phone. You couldn't make phone calls. You couldn't play games on it. Instead, it was for buying and selling. Boom. Here it is. Let me spell it out to you. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have a digital ID. In other words, what's a digital ID? Well, it can't be a card, can it? It can't be something physical. It's got to be something electronic. It's as simple as that, because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people will go along with this. Unless they'd read Revelation 13. If they read Revelation 13, they believe it. I lose my head, but I'm not going to lose my salvation. Next article says, Elon Musk's ex-money partners with Visa for payments. Here's what to know about Venmo rival. Wait a minute. Are you saying the guy that owns the Starlink satellites? Are you saying the guy that has the Tesla cars? Are you saying the guy that owns X? When he came out, when he bought it, he said he wanted to make it the everything app? Wanted to have one app that could just buy and sell. He said this, buy and sell around the world. It would do everything. He wanted to have the everything app. Boom. Here it is. You think we're getting close to the end time? Boom. Here it is. So it says, Elon Musk's social media company, X, announced Tuesday it has secured Visa as its partner for its upcoming, listen to this, digital payments service. I'll say it again. There it is, buy and sell. X Money making the most tangible step yet in creating an everything app. Isn't it fun to be a prophecy student? You see what the devil's doing. The problem is all of this is to catch a lot of people in a trap. And that trap is you lose your head, you lose your salvation if you don't take the mark, but they're going to force people to take the mark. Okay, and what it's going to do is it's going to prove we really do love Jesus and we're willing to give our life for him. He gave his life for us. We're willing to give our life for him, and we're going to get the highest blessing in eternity. Musk's company will enter a crowded field, including PayPal's Venmo down on the bottom. X Money will connect a Visa debit card, oh, surely not, and offer an instant bank account transfer option, and this is not the best thing. Now, let's talk about the best thing. A new war coming. Now, this one shocked me. I didn't see this coming, but I'm going to show you where we were warned, okay? So we talked about this for the last 3 days. Hegseth has ordered a rare and urgent meeting of some 800 generals. Now, hang on to that. There's more. Also, strange truckloads of anti-scaling fencing arrive at the White House. Obviously, something is about to happen that the people are not going to like. I have to point that at massive arrests, but I'm going to show you an article that might be something that surprises us. So what are the possibilities before I tell you what it probably is? Very possibly could be massive arrests, and I hope it is, but financial collapse, that's all part of the massive arrests, the whole new system. Wednesday, we're supposed to see a government shutdown unless the Dems capitulate, and that ain't going to happen, and Trump's not going to back up. So we're about to see a government shutdown. And I could spend a whole hour talking about then what happens, but I'm going to move on. Okay, war. Okay, so if the reason these 800 generals are being called in is because they don't trust being able to get on their secure network and have a conversation with all 800 of them, he's actually got to bring them into Langley, where it is a secure place, so they can talk to them without the wrong ears hearing. Okay, that's something big. Now, okay, so it's probably having to do with war. That's a little bit of a guess. Is that Russia-Ukraine, or, did we just get a surprise? Taiwan. Russia is helping prepare China to attack Taiwan, documents suggest. Oh, they do? Yeah, and if you look at the very bottom, this is September 6th, as in today. So, Russia has agreed to equip and train Chinese airborne battalion and share its expertise in airdropping armored vehicles that analysts say could boost Beijing's capacity to seize Taiwan. What's that saying? It's saying that China is apparently preparing, maybe even soon, as in maybe here before the end of this month, to attack Taiwan. That's just a guess. But it's also saying that Russia and Chinese are buddy-buddy, which is really not a surprise, right? The agreements allow Beijing to access training and technology in one of the few areas where Russian capabilities still surpass those of the Chinese military. Russia's more experienced airborne troops, military analysts said, Moscow has become increasingly dependent on China for dual-use items to prop up sanctions, American sanctions, that hit their military industry and sustain its war in Ukraine. But the deals show how Beijing is simultaneously tapping its partners' battlefield expertise further. Here it is. Chinese leader Xi Jinping's drive to build a modern military with capabilities that match, this is the whole point, match or surpass those of the United States. Now, let's get to where we were warned. Go back to 2022, Coverstone. I dreamed I was watching a large passenger plane with an American flag. Now, you remember it. On its tail wing, it began a slight normal descent, but the people on board, looking through the windows, appeared unafraid, reading magazines, listening through headphones, resting and sleeping. What's that saying? It's saying that the American airplane started going down, but no one started waking up. That's what it's saying. Isn't that what's happened really since 2022 and maybe even before? We've seen the decline of America, but most Americans don't even see it. Let's go on. Suddenly the plane did a nosedive straight down. Okay, so it was going down. Okay, it was going flat, and then it started going down, and then it did a nosedive. A nosedive is like this, all right? It did a nosedive straight down. The people on board made no changes in their activity. I think the straight down is about to happen. Naval ships around aimed heavy caliber weapons at, there it is, Taiwan. Okay, so this is saying that when you start seeing the American economy do a straight down dive, and that could be happening Wednesday, that could be the start of it, then you're also going to see Taiwan attacked. That's what it's saying back in 2022. Naval ships around aimed heavy caliber weapons at Taiwan, drawing closer to the nation. I saw military leaders in China pushing military pieces on the table, planning map. There were radio communications. Leadership was sitting near a red button. There was angry speech and pounding of fists on the table. The Chinese leader was also staring at a phone, now this is important, staring at a phone in his hand, rocking nervously in an old-fashioned American rocking chair. In other words, he's acting like he's friends with America. He's sitting in a rocking chair, but he's not really friends. That did not fit the decor of the room, not really friendly with Americans. I saw a table set beside St. Basil's Cathedral near the Kremlin. Putin and his military leaders were having a picnic with empty wine bottles, not vodka bottles, on the table. Celebration. So the Russians are celebrating when the Chinese get involved in this. Putin was holding a side in pain and not drinking. Now, we've heard several people say that this Putin is not exactly in good health. Sometimes I see him when he walks, his right hand kind of swings like it is not exactly swinging with his left hand. Perhaps you noticed that. But we've not heard anything concrete saying that his health is in danger. But this hints at it. So, if we see Putin, obviously you have to go to the hospital here anytime soon, that'll confirm we're right at the door of this happening. He had a cell phone, now this is Putin, had a cell phone in his hand, was staring at it while sitting in the same kind of rocking chair as the Chinese leader. In other words, he's trying to be friendly with the Americans too, but he's not really friends. Putin was very calm and relaxed and untouched by the boisterous generals around him. The scene changed. European leaders were discussing the surrounding of Taiwan and what should be done to help them. The decision was made to let the world leaders of the United States and Britain handle the crisis, as they all had faith in that plan. Besides that, they're the ones that have the money, okay? Each of the leaders stood and shook hands while wiping the sweat from their brow. Then I saw a split screen of both Chinese leader and Putin hit send on their phones. Okay, wait a minute. Chinese leader and Putin both hit send on their phones at the very same time, meaning they both went into action at the same time. The leaders then casually shut their eyes and began to go to sleep, meaning, we got this. We can handle this. We got it all planned out. We're not worried about the U.S. The Navy ships quickly turned away from Taiwan. I saw many missiles raining down on Ukraine. It was a larger issue than reported in the news. I saw large missile silos all over western Russia uncovered and smoke coming out, but no launch took place, so it's a big threat. One large rocket launched from a Chinese ship headed east from Taiwan at hypersonic speed, but the trajectory stopped over the middle of America. My guess is God said, nah, not going to happen. The plane at the first part of the dream dropped below the lowest clouds. In other words, now it's about to crash. The one that was going level started going down, nobody noticed, and then it did a nosedive. Now it's got below the clouds, meaning our dollar is falling like a rock. I saw land patterns on the ground below. There was an explosion just above the plane, and it lost all power. That kind of fits with the suitcase nukes knocking out all the chips, doesn't it? The first time the descent was directed by the pilot, but now the lights inside the plane went out, meaning right now when some 50 suitcase nukes go all off the same day all across America, and I don't know that it's 50. Matter of fact, we've been told it's more like 35, but nevertheless, that would devastate America. You're talking about suitcase nuke that everything within a 10-block radius is vaporized. There's probably very little ash even, okay? And then it goes out for a long way around that. It's about the size of a Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb. That's not correct. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, one was 4, the other one was 11 kilotons. A suitcase nuke, we are told, is about a 1. Okay, so it's not as big, but it's still a whopper. Any size nuclear is a whopper. People became aware that their music had stopped and the TVs were off, and they were looking out the windows in shock. So this is the first time that the average American wakes up and says, "Whoa, is there something wrong?" They were screaming and beating on the pilot's door in absolute panic. Then it went completely dark. That's electricity. That's electricity going off all across our nation. As the plane was going straight down, meaning the angel, the man I always see sitting next to the window was unafraid. He said out through the window to me, I told them to pray, but they did not. They need to take it seriously now. He then disappeared. Now I got a question. Who's that angel talking to? Well, he's talking to Dana Coverstone, Dana Coverstone's congregation, all of those that watch Dana Coverstone on all of the platforms, and anybody that listens to Dana Coverstone. That would be me and all the people that I talk about this for. Meaning we all need to be praying, which, by the way, if you want to pray for America, go to prophecyclub.com, slide all the way to the bottom, sign up for Fast Gap, where you stand in the gap for America. I've talked about it a lot of times. I'll say just real quickly. So every Tuesday night, I send out 2 emails, one to Fast Track. Those are people praying for me, the Johnson family, Prophecy Club, and Fast Gap. Those are the people that want to pray for America. Then Tuesday night from midnight to 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, we fast. Now that means you still have juice and coffee and stuff like that, but just no hard food. Still take your vitamins and pills and potions and lotions, but don't hurt yourself. And we do this every week. Been doing it for, I don't know, I think it's over 1,000 weeks with Fast Track. I think about 125 weeks with Fast Gap. Anyway, you can join prophecyclub.com. Now, let me get to a real confirmation. So this is Dimitri Duduman. I had him in my home on 2 different occasions. I went to his home, and God arranged for me to really check the guy out. This is the guy that spent 5 months in torture, twice on the electric chair. God sent him to America. The angel came to him August the 3rd of 1984 and said, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and 2 of the countries we think is Venezuela and North Korea will attack and defeat America in one day. I recommend you watch it. You can watch it at watchprophecyclub.com. This will tell you all about it. He spoke to Prophecy Club like in 1996, I think it was. And this is what it looks like if you go to watchprophecyclub.com. It's $20 a month or $200 a year. You can watch up to 300 DVDs. It is the best deal out there. This is a picture of Michael Boldea, his interpreter, and Dimitri on the right side there. This is Dimitri Duduman. And he's gone to be with the Lord now. I think he died in 97. We had him speak in 96, I think. Anyway, so I would recommend you go to watchprophecyclub.com. Here's what he says. Now, this is 1996. I prayed and went to bed, and I was still awake when suddenly I heard a trumpet sound. The voice cried out and said, "Stand." In my vision, all of a sudden, I was in America, not Romania. I walked out of my home and began to look for the one that had just spoken to me, and as I looked, I saw 3 men dressed alike. 2 of the men carried weapons. One of the armed men came to me and said, "I woke you to show you what is to come," he said. "Come with me." I didn't know where I was being taken, but when we reached a certain place, he said, "Stop here. Stand there, don't move, and look." He continued, "You will see what they're saying, what they're preparing for America. This might be about ready to come to pass." As I was looking, I saw a great light. A dark cloud appeared over it. I saw the president of Russia, a short, chubby man, who said he was the president of China. Now, we think this is talking about a short, chubby man, president of China, and maybe Xi Jinping is not really the guy in charge. I don't know. I'm just reading what it said. And 2 others. The last 2 also said that where they were from, but I didn't understand. I gathered they were part of Russian-controlled territory. The men stepped out of the cloud. The Russian president began to speak to the Chinese one. "I'll give you the land with all the people, but you must free Taiwan and the Americans. Do not fear, we will attack them from behind." A voice said to me, "Watch where the Russians penetrate America." See, I'm wanting to believe that this is yet still a few years down the road. I said I'm wanting to believe that, but I can't convince you of that. I saw these words being written: Alaska, Minnesota, Florida. Then the man spoke again. "When America goes to war with China, the Russians will strike without warning." That could be what is on the horizon. Hegseth pulling in 800 generals from around the world to a private sit-down meeting. Something big. So we got to ask ourselves, Russia, Ukraine, massive arrests, Taiwan. The 2 other presidents spoke. "We too will fight for you." Each had a place already planned as a point of attack. All of them shook hands and hugged. Then they all signed a contract. One of them said, "We're sure that Korea," meaning probably North Korea, "and Cuba will be on our side too. Without a doubt, together we can destroy America." The president of Russia began to speak consistently. "Why let ourselves be led by the Americans? Why not rule the world ourselves? They have to be kicked out of Europe too. Then I can do as I please with Europe." The man standing beside me, meaning the angel, asked, "This is what you saw. They act as friends and say they respect the treaties together, but everything I've shown you is how it will really happen." Now, I want you to look at that phrase there in the blue. To me, that means all of the other stuff before it is not how it really happens. It really happens just as Dmitri was told. The fall of America started with an internal revolution. America started by the communists, okay? Now, you must tell them, this is what is being planned against America. Then when it comes to pass, the people remember the words of the Lord has spoken. But then it turns right around and say they're going to see this. So I think there's a big question. I'm unclear, and I wish I could ask Dmitri. I haven't got a confirmation on it. So there you go. I'm passing it along. I'm the protector of America. America's sin has reached God. I think that's the Revelation 18 angel. And I will allow this destruction, for he can no longer stand such wickedness. God, however, still has people that worship him with a clean heart as they do his work. He's prepared a heavenly army to save these people, and now we know it happens on Pentecost, about 4 months before Armageddon. As I looked, a great army, well armed and dressed in white, appeared before me. "Do you see that?" the man asked. "This army will go to battle to save my chosen ones. Then the difference between the godly and the ungodly will be evident. We are already seeing a real big difference between the godly and the ungodly. I mean, just like with Charlie Kirk, boy, you can see a difference between those people that are Christians that are for Charlie and those people that are not Christians that are against him. We're already seeing a big difference. So, may I suggest EMPShield.com. If you do not have one of these on your car, I think you're making a mistake. They also have them for your home. You get a $50 discount if you use the promo code PROPHECY. Also, 800-200-GOLD, 800-200-GOLD, or prophecyclubgold.com, prophecyclubbar.com, or Prophecy Club Crypto. Say it right, prophecyclubcrypto.com. Also, right now, Prophecy Club could use your help again. I mean, when I ask for help, most of the time I get it. But I wish I didn't have to ask. I wish it would just come in and then I could just ignore the money and just share my heart and warn you and our bills get paid and everything like that. But here we are again. I didn't say anything for several programs, but now I'm having to say something. So we would ask you for your help. If you want to be on the end of making money, gold and silver is preserving your money. If you want to be on the end of making money, then you might want to call prophecyclubcrypto.com or actually go to it or call that number at the bottom right corner. Ask them about crypto if you're in the position where you can make money. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice.